time for us to do the newspapers. Mr. Elvis Dako is an editor with the Finder newspaper, and he joins me. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's the big budget day.
Yeah.
I was thinking that all the newspapers will have budget on the front page, but I'm not sure all of them have it.
The government has been a bit mute on the budget. They said they want to come out before we know what actually is going to happen. So I think that most media houses really do not have any fair idea as to what to expect. So if you are doing a budget story, the question is what and what are you looking at? It's purely based on expectations. So I think that's the reason why most people really do not have the issue of budget on their front pages. But if they had maybe insights of what might happen, then you'd have seen that a lot of them would have been talking about the budget.
Okay.
Because if you do a budget story, you really don't have the figures, you didn't know what and what is coming up, it's a bit not that much interesting. You have to talk about expectations. But
yeah,
if you have some insight as to what and what you think in various sectors may be coming up, then you want to really look and do something before it comes out.
So they've been absolutely tight-lipped.
Very, very, because most media houses wanted to know what to expect, what is happening. But if you talk to all the sector ministers, once you talk, what is going to happen to your sector in terms of budget, so wait till it is read on Thursday. So then it's become like, no, everybody wants to wait.
Yeah.
And it's normal because I think that since they just took office, they do not want to put out something that when the budget actually comes out, is not actually what they had already put out. And then people say, but you had said this before and now the budget really is not saying that. So then, well, why did you say that earlier and now the budget? So I think that is something has informed them. I think that next year, the budget will not be that much of an issue because they would have known that, okay, we are being in power after 1 year. And for sector by sector, this is what we plan doing. So they could easily say that you should expect something around this in my budget for the following year. So I think that's why this particular budget seems to be a bit.
Yeah.
And no, because they were also trying to sift through all the figures of the previous government and what they came to meet and come up with something that really represents what the economy is, what the country is. Because if you also happen to get it wrong, it will also be another problem. And when it comes to figures and economy, they are very important because it has a lot of impact. Once you put it out there, investors and all kinds of people will react to it in a different way. So it's very important to get it right. So if you come to government only in the 3 months and you're going to read the budget, and here's the case, we have been told that some expenditures that they found were not accounted for and all that, they want to be a bit more careful so that they don't put out something and tomorrow they go and find something and so we have found something and say, but that's not what you put out in your budget, so then why are you telling you found something? So I think that informed the what we will call some secrecy or tight-lipped situation about the budget.
Okay. Let's check what's making headlines in the Daily Graphic newspaper of today. The Graphic has the story of the budget definitely on the front page of the paper. NPP government presents first budget today. Expectations very high. And Elvis, everybody is saying expectations are very high because there's been a lot of promises by the NPP.
Yeah, that is one. That is why the expectations will be very high. But secondly, the expectations are very high because it's a new government. And we all agree as a country that the state in which we find ourselves is not the best. We change government for the government to come and do something different and something new so that the situation we find ourselves can improve. So if these are the two reasons why the expectations will be very high. And as you said, because of the promises NPP has made, people are looking at to say, how are they going to fulfill those promises? What are they going to do to achieve this? You realize that in light of all the promises they've made, we are being told, if you check from the state of the nation there by the president, it's clear that the economy or the country Ghana is really not in a good shape. So if you are going to read a budget with all the promises you've made, and now you came to tell us that, things are worse than you thought. So it means that you are making the promises with certain expectations in mind. And now that you've won power and you're telling us that, hey, what I have in mind, that our economy or the country is right now, the actual figures are telling me that things are worse off. So people are just looking at to say, how is the government going to, for instance, want to do a free SHS. Where is the money? Because the president just told us in the State of the Nation address that 99.6% of tax revenue goes to only 3 areas: salaries, emoluments, and one other. 3. So if all the money we collect from our taxes, everything, is able to take care of only 3 things, and you are left with 0.04, then the question is, if free SHS is going to cost us a particular amount, where is the money going to come from? You say 1 million, one constituency. We are in 2017, 275 million. Where will it come from? So people are expecting, because if the man has made all these promises and now he's been given power, and now he's telling us that the economy is in a complete shambles. So how do you get the money to do it?
Yeah.
People are looking out for one district, one factory, all the promises. So people are like, hey, if this is the situation, if your debt to GDP is 74%, your economy can be described as being in junk status. Because I remember last year when the vice president of the IMF was in Ghana, he made it clear that it was too high for Ghana's GDP, debt to GDP, to be around 72%. That was at the time that we went into the IMF bailout. And the expectation is that the bailout will help us to reduce the debt to GDP.
But obviously we haven't.
But obviously we haven't, because now it is rather 74%. And it has a lot of implications for the economy. Right now, you realize that the cedi is running at a certain speed. And the question is, what is it going to be outlined in the budget that will make sure that the cedi becomes stable? The interest on your loans we are told it will be about 14 billion this year. Cedis. If you convert to dollars, it means that we are paying about over $4 billion as only interest on our loans for this year. Where are you going to get that money from to be able to pay those interests on the loans? So we look at the economic figures clearly. The situation is not one that you want to say you expect. So if you look at the BNF, they are talking about between growth and fiscal consolidation.
Yeah.
Right now, looking at the economy, are you going to consolidate and make sure that all these economic figures, you are able to stabilize it before you start spending big? Because the more you spend, you need money to spend. And you tell us that the revenue you are generating is not that much for you to be able to spend. So then the question is, how do you do that too? Are you going for growth, or you are going for fiscal consolidation?
Yeah.
Obviously, you need to consolidate before you grow. So if you are going to consolidate before you grow, then all the promises you've made, how then do you do them this year? Because you have to consolidate, that means that your expenses, for instance, for 2017, will have to be very tight, so that you don't spend more. Because once you spend more, you are creating the gap, you are increasing the gap.
Yeah.
So it becomes a challenge for the government. The biggest challenge, I think the BNFD actually captured it properly, whether you are going for growth or you are going for fiscal consolidation.
Big question.
The picture the president painted to us, every economist or anybody who has a little understanding of the economy will tell you that the first option will be to consolidate.
But he's certainly going for growth.
No, you see, you want to go for growth. That is the ambition. That will be the target. But when you don't have fiscal consolidation, on what foundation are you going to grow? That is the issue. You want to reduce debt to GDP down. It means that your spending patterns will have to be controlled.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is the case, you say you are not making enough revenue to be able to spend. You must generate what you spend to avoid your debt growing. So if you are not generating enough, where do you get the money?
Yeah.
It means that you have to go and borrow. But you know, borrowing has became a political issue during the elections. So what excuse are you going to give, or what explanation will you give that I need to borrow more? Because people will say, but you said we are borrowing too much. So that's why expectations are like, okay, well, let's wait and see.
Everybody's waiting to see how are they going to do it.
How are they going to do it? So,
yeah.
And you see, the budget is the one that will tell you how the government intends to do it.
Okay.
So once it is read, then we are going to say, okay, in this area, this is how they intend to do it. Okay, after we know how they will intend to do it, then economists and those who understand will now be asking questions. Is that feasible? Or is that achievable with the current situation of the economy? Is that achievable? That is also another issue altogether. Yeah. So that is why people are really edgy to say, let's wait and see how they are going to do it.
Okay.
So
Let me box that up with what is on the front page of the Finder, because you've mentioned the BNFT. So quickly, on your screens, the Business and Financial Times, between growth and fiscal consolidation, Ofori-Atta's tough call. That's on the budget 2017. And there's a picture of him with the story, really, but he's smiling, so, you know, it probably would be good. There's also Air France starting operations to offer 3 weekly flights on Accra Paris routes, and STC Nordic signed some $35 million bus deal. But let's check the Finder newspaper on this budget. Not quite. I'm not sure if it's related. Fiscal deficit to decline. That's according to Fitch. But the 2017 budget to stimulate growth. So you've kind of taken a position on the Finder.
Well, of course, that's what the government keeps saying. The new government says they want to stimulate growth. So they can stimulate growth, but the other side is that you're going to lose some revenue because they promised a lot of tax cuts. If you are able to deliver the tax cuts, businesses have the confidence that now cost of production will go down. So then we can produce more. So the growth they are expecting they can get. But the point is, if you do it that way, that means that the revenue, the taxes you have reduced means that the revenue that will come into you directly, you have also cut it down. So then when do you get it to close that gap? So when you are targeting growth, and as I said, because there's so many promises, we'll remove this tax, we'll reduce this tax, we'll do this, you realize that the agenda is to make sure that economy grows. The reason you target growth through tax reduction is that the government is not the one who will stimulate growth. Growth can only be stimulated by an effective private sector. And the private sector they have come to meet has always complained that there are too many taxes, there are too many problems in the price. That's why they are unable to grow. So if you are targeting growth, the key area to target is the private sector. What are you doing for the private sector? For them to be free to be able to operate. So if you are removing taxes, you are talking about plans to make sure that utility tariffs come down so that the cost of production will go down. The business will be happy and they want to produce more. Then through that you want to target your growth, because what also happens is that sometimes we think that only taxes alone cannot grow. If you remove the taxes and the people can produce more, you may come to the same revenue or even earn more revenue. Because the taxes they pay to you depend on the quantum of production that they are able to undertake. So if they are doing limited production because the cost of production is high, and therefore they are unable to produce more, and you are able to free them by reducing taxes, making sure utility tariffs go down, and give them the kind of environment that they can thrive in. What it means is that you are likely to see a boom in production. Once there's a boom in production, it means that more people get employed. You are even solving your own employment problem. Once they produce more, it means that they sell more, and the taxes that will come to you also goes up. So it's a tricky thing, but the private sector will always go for growth because the person puts in money, he expects return on investment.
Okay.
So if government create that environment where the impediments to business is reduced or removed, and they can just grow, it's a big incentive for the economy.
Okay.
The government can't employ many people.
Yeah, that is what the Today newspaper has also captured on its front page. Reading of 2017 budget, Ghanaians expect tax cuts.
Which is just reminding NPP of the promises they made in the campaign. Okay, it's just a promise.
But so, do we expect them to carry out all those promises in this first reading?
No, that's why we will get to know, because when the promises were made, it's not that we'll do this in the second year or third year or fourth year. That is why the first budget, that's why people's expectations are so high. Because as to whether they want to do all in this budget or they want to start from specific areas and scale it up in the coming years, all those things will be known once the budget is out. So that we know that if it's about tax cuts, maybe these are the number of taxes that we'll remove. How long is it going to take to remove it? Because it's not just by a statement that we are removing taxes. You need to go to Parliament with a bill, because all taxes are imposed by Parliament. So if you want them to be reduced or you want to scrap it, you still have to go to a process and go to Parliament for Parliament to approve your plans that this tax that you want to remove, we have approved it. So even when the budget is read, even the promised tax cut, it's not going to take effect just tomorrow. It will have a process. So business will want to know, okay, government targets that within the next 3 months, the tax cuts they promised in the budget, they are ready to work with Parliament that within 3 months or within 1 month or within 6 months, these taxes will then be removed. So they give the business a clear sign as to how to plan.
Yeah.
Because they know that, okay, these taxes they say they will remove. In the next 4 months, it will be removed. So if I'm planning from the next 4 months, if they're able to remove it, then I'm scaling up my production to this level. I'm going on with this strategy or that strategy.
Yeah.
So it gives the clearer picture. The promise to cut is one. But as to when the cut will actually become
That's
effective,
another thing.
it's another thing.
Yeah.
So the promise is that the budget will come, but then the timelines are key. When do you intend to do it? In the utility tariffs area, it's one major concern of business.
You did an exclusive. I was just going to that. You did an exclusive with the energy minister.
Yeah.
Did he give you any? Did you get any insight as to exactly what is going to happen to the tariffs?
Well, for the tariffs, he didn't give me, but following their campaign and all that, the message is they believe that taxes on tariffs or energy or the power sector, fuel and electricity, they think that some of the taxes can be either scrapped or can be reduced. And as I said, all this will still have to be done through legislation. So even if they come and say the 10% energy levy on electricity, for instance, maybe they want to reduce it to 5%, 2%, or they want to scrap it entirely, it's not happening tomorrow. They still have to go and sit down and prepare a bill, go to Parliament, and say the energy levies you imposed on electricity, we want to reduce it by this percentage. For instance, electricity tariffs, for instance, they are not only looking at only the issue of the 10% or the taxes on it. They're also looking at how can they restructure the power sector, that cost of producing a kilowatt hour of electricity can come down. That's the only way you also get value for the consumer to pay less. Because if Ivory Coast can generate 1 kilowatt hour from thermal plants at 9 cents and sell to Ghana at 11 cents, and the Ghana thermal plants generate the same kilowatt hour from thermal plants between 12, 13 to 19 cents, you see the difference.
Something must be wrong somewhere.
Somebody is generating and selling to you at a cheaper cost than you generating from your own thermal plant. It's obvious that these things, if you are able to even go to the level of Ivory Coast, you have given business some relief. If you are able to reduce the cost of producing electricity. And all these things have to be done by proper restructuring, renegotiating the agreements with the thermal power plant owners and say, look, we cannot continue this way because if we continue, business can't grow. And therefore, we want to come out with this strategy where any thermal plant that wants to produce for Ghana to buy should produce and sell at this rate. For instance, I heard in Turkey, if you want to go and build a thermal power plant, the law is, they tell you clear, if you cannot produce for 6 cents and below, they don't want you in their country because they cannot let their people and country pay more than 6 cents for a kilowatt hour. That is a public statement. That is a country that understands that if you produce power at a lower cost, it translates into lower tariffs for consumers. So the basic thing, once you are signing those power agreements with people, what you should consider is the cost at which they want to produce a kilowatt hour. Will it be affordable to the people who are going to consume the power? So all these things will come in the power. But as I said, if you want to do this, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
Because the government already signed these deals with these IPPs. And that is an agreement you cannot terminate. You now have to go back and find a strategy of how you can renegotiate with them to understand that with the current rate, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
And that you think that they can do it at this level and have clear evidence to prove to them that it is true that their power is expensive.
Last thing on the power situation. Did the minister confirm that there's a crisis? Are they rationing power? Would they roll out some timetable so we know when we're going on?
All this issue about rationing, I think that we first of all are taking some of the things out of. We are really not talking about what really it should be. One.
What is the problem? The problem is that my lights goes off.
Yes.
And I need a timetable so I know, and I need to know what is happening.
You see, we need to have further understanding of the power sector. In the power sector, there are players, and you should know the role each player plays for the power to come to your house. Most of the time we blame ECG. Sometimes it's not ECG.
Because we buy directly from ECG.
That is the point. But then it's not ECG's fault. We are in a country where we have invested so much in generation. But the key problem in the sector is fuel to power those plants to generate the electricity.
Is that supposed to be my problem as an ordinary consumer?
But at the end of the day, because somebody has taken those decisions on our behalf, now we must fulfill those promises. We brought in thermal plants in this country, and we as a government says, because we needed power and there's doomsday and we need power. So people come and said, me, I'll bring the equipment, but I can't buy fuel. You, the government of Ghana, commit that you buy the fuel I will use to run my plant for me. Then the government, because it's in a desperate need of power, agrees that let's sign it, I'll provide the fuel. Now the government starts providing the fuel. What happens? The fuel goes, they generate the power, they give it to GRIDCO, GRIDCO will give it to ECG. ECG goes to sell the power, comes back and says, unfortunately, I couldn't collect all the money, and government also owes me some of the money. This is what I have collected. Then the generators say, okay, we are private people. VRA and ECG are government institution. So the little you have, give it to us. Then they give it to them. And see, the power agreement you have signed, the people are selling the power to ECG in dollars. They sell to us in dollars. ECG sells to you and I in cedis. They collect the money in cedis. They have to convert it to dollars to go and pay. So when you don't manage your CD well and the CD keeps depreciating, it means that ECG, if you wait for 6 months before you pay ECG's bill, you have cost ECG some debt. So ECG converts, go say, oh, the money I have, this is what is left. Then they say, okay, if you say this is what is left, we are private people, pay us first. ECG pays, it's not enough. Then the power operator says, okay, since you still owe us, the fuel VRA has provided to us, VRA and ECG, your government institution, go and find the money and pay yourself. You see, this thing that we have recently is because the FPSO had to do some work. What people should understand in this country now that FPSO is now playing a key role in our power generation, because the gas that comes from there, we are not paying upfront. We are using it on credit, and that's when government get money before they pay. That is why VRA owes Ghana Gas almost getting to $400 million. Because all the gas that is coming, you don't need to pay cash in hand. When the FPSO shuts down, what it means, they have to bring in light crude oil to run the thermal power, those that are dual fired. You need 10,000 barrels of crude oil to run 200 megawatts of power a day. 10,000 barrels. So when government orders one cargo of crude oil to this country, do you know how much government has to pay? About $35 million. How long does it last? Just 40 days. Because every day, if you want to generate 200 megawatts, you are needing 10,000 barrels of crude oil. Because 5,000 will generate 100 megawatts.
Two things on people's minds. Now, who caused some? And what does it mean to me, the other person?
And a broke government doesn't have the money to go and buy enough fuel. So it's buying the one that the money, because the crude oil you are buying, you can't buy on credit. The money maybe 30 days. 20 days. Let me just
remind our viewers that Roland Walker is on standby in Parliament, so perhaps we can just say a quick hello to him, and then I'll review the center spread of the Daily Guide, because that's one of the favorite places he likes to visit. Roland, good morning to you again. Good to see you.
See Elvis Darko, my good friend, and I hope that he's doing well. And again, I have to congratulate him for the award he won the last time. I hope that he'll win a lot more awards. Interesting analysis he's making in the studio, but we're here because it's a period of the fest. Just about 2 weeks ago, or close to 2 weeks ago, we had the president come to Parliament and give the first of a State of the Nation address. And now we're having the first of the financial statement of the Akufo-Addo-led government, to be presented by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. And we all know, Mavi, that the economy over the last 4 to 5 years has not been as robust as we witnessed the last 6 to 7 years. And that has been a worry for not only industry players, but also those economic watchers outside our shores or the continent. And we'll try as much as possible give you a lot more introspection as to what we can preempt the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, will say today, and more importantly, speak to notable personalities who would be part of the witnessing of the event at the public gallery of Parliament. Again, we want you all to get interactive. Just in case you have something on your mind, especially, you can get onto our Facebook page, Joy News on TV, and also interact with us on Twitter through our handle, Joy News on TV. As you do all that, this is a place to be. We're coming to you live from Parliament, as we also bring to you in-studio discussions on what we expect of the first budget of the Akufo-Addo-led government to be presented by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta-Mamavi.
Do we know how he's going to look like as he walks to present the budget? Is he going to carry a briefcase or something of the sort?
By stature, he's not too tall, and usually, by the way he goes these days or the last couple of years, he's likely to wear white, unless perhaps he wants to go formal and wear suits. I haven't seen him wear suits in several years, if not at least 2 decades since I have known him in the economic life of our country. So we'll see how he'll look, but I'm predicting that he'll be in white.
Okay, all right, Roland. We'll come back right at you in Parliament. That's Roland Walker right there. But Elvis Darko is with me. And I want us to quickly look at the other stories.
No, but on the power sector, let me tell you this.
So you kind of understand what is happening.
ECG, people say when government pays debt to ECG, why should it be given to an investor? The point is all the money that everybody owes, if you pay ECG now, they just have to go and pay their creditors. So ECG, the actual investment they need to replace their infrastructure so that small storm. I always say, why should there be a storm that's lighter? Because storms happen in other countries at higher levels, and still they have electricity. It means that ECG lack the kind of equipment that will ensure that even in storms, power stays on for you and I.
Yeah.
They need real big investment. Where will the money come from? The government say I'm broke. So even if the government and all those of us who pay, they will just go and pay their creditors. The actual investment, they need to change equipment and infrastructure for them to be able to deliver power to you and I regularly. It's not there.
So privatize privatize ECG too is a problem. So what should we do now?
That is the point. So the question is between giving it on concession and our government should go and find the money and reinvest in ECG.
Which one is viable?
These are the two government.
Okay. So in our own normal terms, what is happening now? Are they rationing power? Is there a timetable going on?
Oh, no. If you look at the generation right now, when the FPSO went off, there was a problem because there's a shortage. That one, there was no doubt about it. They were relying on Ivory Coast to get power. But I think the problem with Ivory Coast is that if I say I'll give you 200 megawatts, I satisfy my citizens first or my need, the remaining I give it to you. So if I say I'll give you 200 megawatts and I have a problem with my generation, it drops to 100. It's the 100 I'll give you because if I'm not able to satisfy my consumption, I can't give you.
So that's what we're experiencing now. So are we buying crude today?
Yes, we buy crude every day because if we don't buy crude, the power will not be on.
Okay.
You can. Is
the FPSO back on?
It's back on.
Okay.
The FPSO is back on. That is why you see that for some 2 or 3 days, I said it's a bit better than like a week ago. A week ago, it was very bad because the FPSO was off. The expectation that they will finish on time didn't happen because Talos said they had to extend. And within that period, what happened was that the plan they had for crude oil and all that the FPS will come on because Talos said there was a problem, they have to extend. There was a deficit. And then they were not getting what they need from Ivory Coast as well. So there's nothing you and I can do on the palm. At the end of the day, we have to go into doom so.
All right. At the end of the day, we have to look at some other stories quickly just before we wrap up and make way for sports. Benedict is hanging around. He come up with details in sports. In the graphic, fake profits due scores of 298,000 Ghana cedis, 2 vehicles. And there's Joseph Brema and Derek Kweku Sechi Basie. And I don't know if they are the prophets, but a little bit of the story in page 16. It says that 2 self-styled pastors are in the grip of the police for allegedly defrauding more than 400 people by giving them fake prophecies. The suspects identified as Joseph Brema, 22, and Derek Kweku Sechi Basie, 31, alias Kweku Money, are said to target well-established traders and other personalities, mainly in the Greater Accra region and other parts of the country. They were nabbed after some victims reported the activities to the police. So far, the police have received report from 5 victims who have been duped to the tune of 298,000 Ghana cedis. One of the victims, a trader at Tudu, who first reported to the police, is said to have given the false prophet 75,000 Ghana cedis, while her son parted with 222,000 Ghana cedis, an Apple mobile phone, a Kia Optima, and a Mercedes C-Class salon car. That's a rich person, man. What do you need from a prophet?
That's the question.
Amazing.
You want prophecy. Did the man put gun on their head to bring their things, or they went voluntarily? You want to go voluntarily to somebody. It's prophecy to be sold. Prophecy is not sold.
Yeah.
Jesus has not sold prophecy to anybody. So why should a mere human being tell you that if you don't bring this and that, I can't tell you your prophecy? And it has become, I think, if you take Bank of Ghana and Smith out, I think that the prophets are the richest people in Ghana today. They make so much money. Some of them, you have to say pay consultation fee to 50 Ghana or 200. You have to pay another 300 before even you see the prophet. And they make all the money.
Yeah, some
and
of them you have to send about mobile money.
Because we have little or no understanding of the so-called faith we think we are following. We do all kinds of things in the name of the faith.
Yeah.
There is nowhere in the Bible where prophecies are so. I always tell you, any man of God that you go to see and they say pay money before you see him, just turn back and go, because I have not read it anywhere that when Jesus was on earth or anywhere in the Bible that if you want to see a prophet, you need to pay any money. If you go to a prophet, a genuine one, and he heals you, or does anything for you, you on your own volition can say, I think I've seen results of what the person has done for me. So I'm going back to say thank you.
Yeah.
That one, there is nothing wrong with it. But once the money is being demanded before anything will be done for you, clearly you should just immediately know that this is not a man of God.
Yeah.
You don't have to even invest any money. So you see, sometimes we blame the prophets, but we should blame ourselves, the people who go there. If you understand what your faith is about, you know that your faith does not preach what you are being asked to do.
Amen.
Why then do you go and do it?
Amen.
So we should
Thank you very much.
People.
There are more stories in the various newspapers, and like I always say, go to the newsstand, grab the papers, and then read the stories. Let's quickly run you through what we have on myjoyonline.com. This day, Parliament's Energy Committee summons PRC over alleged malfeasance. And I've heard that people are threatening to bring out names of journalists who received some cash from PRC. Elvis, I hope your name won't be on that list.
If you receive money from PRC, is it that you are being bribed not to uncover something? Or it's just the money that's given you because they budgeted for it and say you are entitled to it? Which is which? We say news is uncovering what has been covered.
Yeah.
So if you are uncovering something that has been uncovered, and somebody is offering you money not to do it, then the person is trying to influence you not to do what is right. But apart from that, I think we need to have a conversation on this issue as to whether journalists deserve something or not.
Is it Solly or is TNT?
It is this one.
But if they give you like 2,000 Ghana cedis, is that still transport?
It depends on what you are giving it for. If PRC or government institution says we are going for a workshop at Akosombo, we have budgeted that every participant will get 2,000 Ghana cedis. And you go there because you are a journalist. Because you are a journalist, you should not be entitled to it. You went and started. Somebody who works for PR gets his salary from that government institution. That is where he works and gets paid. He is entitled to a per diem for going to that workshop. The journalist who is working maybe probably for a private firm also goes to the same workshop for 3 days because you have the title called journalist. You should not be entitled to per diem. Is that the angle we are talking about? So there's a clear difference of somebody offering you money to influence your work. That one is illegal. I will not support it anyway. It is unethical that you are doing your work. You know that this is the way it has to be done, and somebody is giving you money not to do it that way. It's unethical. But when journalists go to do things that you see, this obviously publicity, or this obviously something that the institution has budgeted for, that we are going to do this, this is what every participant is entitled to. And every participant, they include those who work for that institution and get their salary from, they also get that per diem. And they say you are a journalist. Because of that word journalist, you should not get it. I don't get it. Is it? We need to clarify.
Good analysis.
We need to clarify these things.
I haven't thought about it this
stop
way.
painting journalists as if these are some hungry people who are always chasing people for money. I hate it when I hear that. Because why should I leave my work to go to a workshop with a government institution for 3 days? And they have budgeted that these 3 days we are going to be out of the office. We are entitled to a per diem of this amount. But because you have a title called journalist, you should not be entitled. So when journalists get such payment, they say, oh, some strange payment to journalists. Please, the workshop, you see, we journalists, we are
so
the problem.
I take it that I'll find your name in that list.
If my name is there, I don't give a damn. A U.S. government will take you on a trip, okay, to U.S. and says, we are taking you for a capacity building workshop. And they give you a per diem. You take it and put it in your pocket. That one, you see nothing wrong with. Do you work for U.S. government? Or do you work for the UK government for them to pay you?
Okay.
Because once you're on that trip, your salary is being paid into your account.
Okay.
So we should stop this thing of demonizing journalists, that once journalists get some money from some institution, it means that it's being bribed. Bribe for what? Is there any bad story about PRC or any government you are supposed to go and do? You went, the person said,
they give you the money, so
take
you
this money and don't do it. And take. that one is unethical. Once it's meant to influence the way you do your work, it's unethical. It's bribery. You shouldn't take it. But when it is not meant to influence your work, a capacity building workshop, and you participate, and they say it's a per diem for all participants, or because your name is a journalist, you are no longer a participant. Your name is added and a budget was done. That we are going with 10 media people, 10 staff of our own organization, 10 staff from here, and 30 or 40 people are going to this is the per diem. The management approves and say pay them. And once the payment is done, the idea is that because you are a journalist, do you know what people charge per hour in other professions for their work that they do?
Good question.
So
let's finish the headlines on myjoyonline.com.
I am against any bribery, any form of money given to any journalist to influence the work you do.
Certainly.
But then when the conditions are set and it's precedent that the company said, I've budgeted for this for all the participants for this program, and your name is found there because you are a journalist, you have been bribed. All the other people who make the money, they are not being bribed. You are the journalist, so you are the one that has been bribed.
Good analysis. Herbal medicines, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You can take a read. And then this truck, this container that turned on the interchange is also making huge headlines. I think the story is here on myjoyonline.com as well. Saw it a while ago. But Smart's Everything virtualization takes center stage at MWC 2017. You can take a read as well. Mugabe flies to Singapore for medical checks right after his 93rd birthday celebration. It was a bash. So push for cargo trucks scrutiny following Nkrumah interchange accident. I hear there are no signs of, they put the limits of the, nothing of that
I
sort.
think they say cargoes are not supposed to use it, so they shouldn't have.
So why did they?
Should have used it in the first place. But we live in a country where there's indiscipline everywhere.
Yeah, but has there been education?
Well,
because I'm hearing it for the first time that they said cargoes should not use it.
So
there should have been a sign somewhere.
Of course, there should have been a sign that you can't use it. So I don't know whether the sign is there because, to be frank with you, I haven't observed.
Okay.
But when I used the internet for the first time, I said, look, this thing is going to be a death trap. Because I saw the edges rather being guarded with guardrails, which I think they are not even strong enough. But in the middle, rather, there's a concrete. So I said, if any vehicle should run into this guardrail, the possibility of it falling off the bridge is high. Why do you use guardrails at the edges and then use concrete in the middle? When you use the Malam interchange, you realize that it's all concrete. So unless you are a bigger car like this vehicle, you cannot fall off. But with the Nkrumah interchange, the way the guardrail, even smaller cars are at risk of falling off if they lose control of their vehicle.
Amazing.
So when I used it for the first time, that was my first observation. When the thing happened, I was like, this is what I said. We have to be, so I asked, who even supervised the construction for this to be done? That the edges where vehicles are likely to fall off we use guardrails. And in the middle, rather, we use concrete. Why don't we use the concrete at the edges and use the guardrails even in the middle? Because that one, whatever happens, if you hit the concrete, you come back to the road as a smaller vehicle. Only big vehicles like this can fall off. So you see, we should, I don't know, it's already done, but I think that we should understand some of these things. Clearly, if it is true that big vehicles are like this truck are not supposed to use it, then it means that the driver also has erred in a way, because even if the caution is not there, if it's by standard, by road safety regulations, that they are not even supposed to use such a thing, then this might have erred. So I think we also have to look into it and go and check whether there's even the warning there that vehicles above this tonnage cannot use the overhead. If that's the case, then we can blame the driver. But if that's not the case, that there's no warning. There are huge overhead in other countries, and these huge vehicles use them.
Mr. Darko, we'll have to leave it here. I really appreciate your time on this special coverage of ours of the budget 2017.
Thank you
so much for making it. Thanks for being here. We'll have you again. That's Mr. Elvis Darko. He's an editor with the Finder newspaper. Today they have the Business Finder out. A lot of information on the budget. Stay with us. Benedict Owusu-Dankwa will come your way with sports. And then we'll go right to Roland Walker, who is in Parliament, for more conversations on the budget reading later today. Stay with us.